Hello, happy Monday. If it's Monday when you're listening to this, welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. I'm Chrissy, and you are joining me today for a mammoth client check-in. I'm going on holiday on Wednesday, and so I have grouped my at-home community clients and my 31 for 31 clients, as well as my Last Diet Club local clients, into this mammoth check-in. And I'm really excited because I've got so many great questions and things to cover off. Because of that, I can't read out everyone's wins, otherwise we will be here for a really long time. So if I don't read out your win, please don't take it personally. I have read them all, they're all amazing, but I've just picked a few that I wanted to share. So Ruth is really proud of eating 5 a day and being motivated to do things so she can mark them off in the app. So great example there of using the app to help you. It's there for you to use as little or as much as you want to, and some people really enjoy that ticking off process. Lisa, despite waiting for surgery, I'm feeling quite positive in myself and really proud that I've not used this as an excuse to hit the F it button. There's definitely a big shift in my mindset. If this was pre-Chrissy, I would have been a right Debbie Downer and used it to eat what I want. Well done, Lisa. Laura has been cycling to and from work. That's amazing. Soph finally plucked up the courage to take some progress pictures after struggling with her calorie targets and seeing that she's still been making some progress. And I wanted to read this one because the difference in Soph's progress pictures is incredible. And that came off the back of her feeling like she wasn't making progress. So if you aren't taking progress pictures and measurements and you are just going by the scale, you are missing a huge trick. Please take progress pictures. By the way, before I carry on, I'm drinking hot coffee and it's 30 degrees in my office. Is that weird? I just really like a hot drink even when I'm hot. So, you know. Hannah has been having the same high protein breakfast every day on holiday this week, especially when her friends had toast and cereal. This was one... Why did I say cereal like that? Cereal. This was one of her non-negotiables, and she felt really proud of herself when they commented on how healthy it looked. I think I managed to inspire a little too. Love that. And then we've got Liz. She is celebrating getting to the gym and her energy levels. And Emily went to a gig at the weekend. She was happy with how she looked. She didn't have a meltdown over what to wear for once. And she's also been loving challenging herself with the higher weights in boot camp, and feeling stronger is amazing. I noticed at last week's boot camp that Emily was picking up heavier weights than I've seen her used in the past, and it is amazing, so well done. Okay, let's move on to challenges and questions then. So Italian pizza and ice cream got the better of me. I'd also planned to go for a couple of small runs whilst I was on my holiday, but with the heat it just wasn't doable. My comment here is just draw a line under it and move on. Don't weigh yourself for a week. You may have done already. I think you got back yesterday. But one thing, and this is for anyone coming back from holiday, is I would encourage you to reflect. Were you all or nothing? How have you felt coming back from your holiday? What would you change? In the grand scheme of things, 1 week is not going to make a huge amount of difference. But what I really, truly want you to think about is eating, and I'm not saying you did, but eating an excess of pizza and ice cream, not moving your body. Did the choices you make on holiday enhance your holiday or make it worse or negligible? Was it the same? And if they enhanced your holiday, be okay with that and move on. If they made it worse, then, and this is the same with any decisions, right? It doesn't have to be a holiday. If your decision has made you feel worse, it wasn't the right decision. Learn from that. If it made your holiday better, fine, be okay with it. Draw a line. If it didn't make any difference at all, then, you know, the question you want to ask yourself is, would you make a different choice when it came to, you know, 2 ice creams in a day? Again, I don't know that that's what you did, but Would that make you choose differently next time? Okay, good. Sip of the coffee in the boiling hot heat. Okay, next one. What's the best excuse for lower belly fat? Okay, great question. One I answer probably once a month. We can't spot reduced fat through diet and exercise. So if anyone advertises that this exercise is great for getting rid of your belly fat, or this exercise is great for slimming down your thighs, or eat this food, it's really good for, you know, dropping your belly fat or making your bum smaller, they are lying to you. Okay, there is no way of telling the body, I would like you to take the fat from my lower tummy or my thighs or my bum. Believe me, I've tried with my thighs and my bum for a lot of years, until I learnt to accept that they were just my bigger areas. The body will take the fat from where the body wants to take the fat from. So losing fat is about a calorie deficit. It's about being in that calorie deficit consistently. Most people's problem areas are their problem areas purely because that is the last place the fat goes from naturally. Okay, so and notoriously the lower tummy, especially as a woman, especially if you've had children, is a harder area to reduce. But your problem area is your problem area because that's where the body decides to take the fat from last. So for me, you know, I have quite a flat tummy. When I lose weight, I lose it in my face, I lose it across my collarbones, my arms look super toned. The last place it goes from are my legs and my bum. And there's nothing that we can do in order to change that. It's largely down to genetics. But remember also, we don't exercise to burn fat or to burn calories. We exercise to get healthy and strong. So there is not any kind of number of crunches or abdominal workout or sit-ups that will remove your belly fat. This is down to your calorie deficit. Okay, next one. Loved this question. Are all vegetables equal? Is a plate of salad as nutritious and filling as a plate of carrots and broccoli, etc.? So in short, no, not all vegetables are equal. First thing I want to let everyone know is that potatoes don't count as one of your 5 a day. At a push, a sweet potato does. That's the first thing I want to say. But salad veg is largely water, whereas your other vegetables have much more fibre in them, which makes them more filling. So the first thing to think is, and I think this is where this person is coming from, think variety. So think variety in colour, but also think variety in, you know, I know it's really hot and eating cooked things is a bit more challenging, says the person who's sitting here drinking a freshly made cup of coffee. You know, variety would mean including all vegetables, as many different vegetables as you can, and not just salad vegetables. Okay, so trying to remember that, you know, salad's super easy in this heat, but also we want to get stuff with lots of fibre in them, and most salad veg is water-based. Thinking as well about portion sizes, so a big handful is a portion in the case of like salad and veg. A piece of fruit is a portion. In the case of things like plums, that's 2 plums. But yeah, remember, salad is mainly water. Your vegetables have got all the fibre. So maybe try salad at one meal and vegetables at the other. You can probably hear my gorgeous little next door neighbour. She's playing in the garden with her grandparents. So, and I can't close the window because it's just, I need some kind of air. Okay, so I've got a kind of series of questions here from the same person. So I'm going to read these 2 first. The thing that this person is challenged with is water intake and reaching for the biscuits, snacks when she was bored, fed up, stressed with work. So with water intake, use a big pint glass or a refillable bottle, and try and keep that with you. Don't be afraid to add no added sugar or some slices of fruit. Last week I was putting lemon, cucumber and mint in my water and it was lovely. Find a way that works for you. So for me, I really like super cold water, especially in this heat. So I tend to put lots of ice in my water bottle at this time of year, if not keeping it in the fridge for as long as possible until I use it. But the second question, the second part of this question about reaching for the biscuits and snacks when you were bored, fed up, stressed with work. So this is classic emotional eating, and a lot of my clients have this, and we work on this, ongoing, because it can't just be fixed in 31 days. But you also asked on the same form, is it good to fast? I often don't feel like breakfast first thing, and find especially on weekends I can easily go without. So I also think that these two go hand in hand. If you're not eating breakfast, it is going to be easier for you to reach for the biscuits and the snacks when you're bored, procrastinating, fed up or stressed. Because and it will be easier for you to tell yourself that that's okay, because you'll be subconsciously telling yourself, well, I haven't had breakfast. So there's definitely some emotional eating going on there with you, definitely. But I think skipping breakfast is not helping you, okay? So when you ask me the question of, is it good to fast? The answer is, it depends. Some people get on really well with fasting, but most women, in my experience, don't. So at the moment, my husband's been fasting for about 6 weeks before our holiday, because it was just his easiest way. Listen, he's married to a fat loss coach and he does what he wants to do, but this was his easiest way of just dropping a couple of kilograms before we went on holiday, rather than trying to bank, because we've had quite a social summer. He didn't want to then bank like calories for the weekend. He's got on okay with it. We were talking about it on our walk this morning, and he was like, I've got used to it. The first couple of weeks was horrible. I've got used to it, but by 11 a.m, I'm really looking forward to my couple of baby bells. Most women I work with, myself included, do not get on with fasting. If I fast, I feel awful. I don't feel very well. I'm grumpy. I also work out in the morning, so it is beneficial for me to get my protein in within 2 hours of me, working out, and to make the most of that protein. Now, the reason I connected these two together is because the problem with fasting is that it makes it really hard for you to hit your protein targets when you miss a meal. And protein is so vital, especially because you personally have said you found it challenging not to reach for biscuits when you're bored and stressed. So overall, I don't advise it. I recommend that if you don't feel like breakfast, and I've got a couple of clients like this that are just not breakfasty people, I recommend that you have something protein rich in the morning, just to get you started. It could be a protein shake. It could be an individual protein yogurt with a small handful of berries. It could be a couple of boiled eggs. To get to at least 100 grams of protein per day, which is what everyone should be aiming for, you are missing out on a big chunk of that if you're not eating breakfast. And then secondly, it is really super easy to overeat later on in the day if you are skipping breakfast. Again, there's some subconscious chatter going on there. Oh, well, I missed breakfast, so I can afford to eat this. But also the hunger kind of catches up from you from earlier in the day. So my advice is not. I don't think it's optimal to be missing breakfast. And if you can experiment with trying to get something small in, that would be beneficial. An excuse that someone has made, the mini workout, so the August challenge, where you've got 3 exercises, which at the moment are currently taking people a couple of minutes. I always tell myself I'll do it later. Do it first thing in the morning. You will never, ever do it if you always tell yourself later. If you're always telling yourself later at the moment and you're not doing it, it's not working. So you need to change the time. Okie dokie. Next we have My family and I love pasta, but I'm assuming that you have PCOS. Do you have any low carb ideas that I could swap the pasta for when I'm cooking pasta for the rest of the family? Hubby and I have cauliflower rice instead of normal rice, but I wouldn't fancy that with my bolognese sauce. This is a great one to ask in the group as well, what other people have tried. I would say you could also try some more nutritious carbs. So not every calorie is created equal, and not every carb is created equal, and not every protein is created equal, and not every fat is created equal, right? Yes, okay, at a molecular level, 1 gram of fat has 9 calories in it, 1 gram of carb has 4 calories in it, 1 gram of protein has 4 calories in it. But pasta is very much wheat, flour and water and maybe a bit of salt, and if you're buying fresh pasta it's normally got egg or olive oil or butter in it or something like that, right? So my first step would be to say go for a more nutritious carb, because something like beans, lentils, pulses have other nutrients. They've got a protein content for starters, they've got other nutrients and other benefits in them, and a whole food diet, then more whole food would be more beneficial to your PCOS. If you're not fancying that, things like having a big crunchy salad, if you like the mixture of hot and cold, crunchy and soft, a big bed of like crunchy iceberg and maybe like shaved carrots or grated carrots and stuff like that with your bolognese sauce over, get the hot and cold and the crunchy. You could have vegetables on the side, and or also look at things like whole grain rice, brown rice, black rice, things like that, or mixed grains in those packets, and then you can have less carbs, add in more vegetables, so you're still getting the carb, but not as much, and you're also boosting the nutrition. Also, like I say, a great question to ask in the WhatsApp group as well. Yes, so let's have a look. Right. Next question. Can you recommend some exercises that strengthen your knees? So just remembering, I'm not a physio, so if you have got knee problems, the first port of call should be a physio who will give you specific exercises for your knees. But strengthening your knees is often more about strengthening the muscles around your knees. So as a sufferer of knee problems, which come from running, my knee problems actually came from hip problems and the muscles around my knees. So I was given by my physio and my osteo actually exercises to help build up the muscles around your knees, particularly your quads, because those are the muscles that join directly into the top of the kneecap. So anything, that is building the quads, me personally, for my knee problems, which are not necessarily going to be the same as your knee problems, step ups were a really good one to help. But then there's also your hips, making sure that your hips, because if your hips are out of alignment, that is going to be putting pressure on your knees. But as I said, I'm not a physio, so I can tell you that you need to build up the muscles around the knees. But if there's a specific problem, see a physio or an osteopath. Okie dokie. Wow, it's warm. I mean, that could be the coffee that I'm drinking, couldn't it? It's decaf, by the way, because me and caffeine. Okay, so this question, when you said before, so this was a couple of, I can't remember if this was last week's podcast or the week before, about doing 3 things for 3 days and making a commitment to it. What would you do as yours? I'm not great at making decisions sometimes. So this is when I say, if you feel like you've fallen off track, give yourself 3 things to do without any excuses for 3 days in a row, okay? Now, my answer to this is that it's really individual. and it needs to be the things that are most difficult for you. So for example, when I come back from holiday in September, it will likely be 3 protein meals daily with no snacking, walk daily, and 3 gym workouts. There goes the doorbell.
Someone is at the front door.
Sorry, had to direct the child to get the door then. So yeah, mine will be 3 protein meals, a walk daily, 3 gym workouts. Why will mine be those things? Well, as much as I'm planning on eating protein with every meal in France, I know it probably won't be as much protein as I'm used to. I also know that I will come back and I will probably be hungrier because I will allow myself to snack a little bit and to eat a little bit more while I'm on holiday. So getting those 3 protein meals in every day with no snacking in between is going to be really key to get me back to my normal routine of eating. I am not a huge snacker. I eat 3 big meals a day and maybe like 1 post dinner like treaty type food, but I don't really snack. I'd rather eat 3 big meals, but I know, like I say, I will probably snack a bit more in France, so that will help me with that. Walking daily, this is really easy for me to do because of Henry, but whilst I will be going for a walk every day in France, I probably won't be hitting 10,000, 12,000 steps, which I normally do. So getting back into the habit of getting out for a walk every day is really important. And then getting back to the gym, because I'm not going to get to the gym for 3 weeks. So my plan is on the first day that I'm back, I get back Monday night, on that Tuesday morning, I will be at the gym. So that's why they are mine. And as I say, it's individual for everyone, but pick the things that you know are the things that are normally difficult for you. So if getting your 3 protein meals in a day or getting out for a walk every day is difficult, then put those in. Okay. I've been on my period this week and I do crave sugar terribly when I'm on. I've definitely overindulged at times, not every day, but I've given in when I shouldn't have. Here's what I want to say. So there's nothing wrong with having a bit of extra sugar when you crave it if you're on your period or if you just are having a craving. But the thing that is really important is to learn when a bit won't be enough and so when not to bother. So for example, for me, I used to really crave sugar before and during my period, and it did not matter whether I ate 1 chocolate bar or 5 or a packet of biscuits. It was never enough to get rid of that sugar craving, so I stopped. Because I knew that whether I ate 1 chocolate bar, 5 chocolate bars or 10, I still was going to crave more, so I stopped. So it's about learning when not to bother. I'm not tracking like I should. I need to sit down for 5 minutes in the morning and do it, so I've planned what I'm having for the day. I'm going to do that this week. So go to quite a few of the answers this week, really refer to the Planning Your Week guide that is in resources, but also if you look in the masterclasses area of our app, there is a Planning Your Week masterclass. It's about 35 minutes long. It goes with that guide. I recommend that you all give that a listen because it will really help you to plan those meals around everything else that's going on. If you keep your breakfasts and lunches the same or similar, if you don't, you probably should. Do it all in one go at the beginning of the week. On a Sunday, I sit down and I plan in my breakfast and my lunches because I know pretty much what they're going to be because I've already done the planning and the shopping. So it's all about working it backwards and working it in with the whole of your week. The same thing goes for any of you that said not planning your meals well. So remember, if you don't give time to planning, things don't happen by accident. Okay, they don't happen by accident. I didn't make this cup of coffee by accident. I had to actually take the action and have the intention to do it. So if you haven't watched that masterclass, give that a watch And also consider, by not planning your meals, what impact is that having on the bigger picture? What is going on in terms of, how is that impacting the rest of your decisions? Are you then not eating properly, or are you then rushing? Are you then more stressed? One of the things that planning your meals takes away is decision fatigue. So, we make so many decisions as humans every day. So if you've already planned your meals ahead of time for the week with some flexibility, you are reducing the decision fatigue. You are taking away one stress for yourself. Okay. So you've said in a later part of your form, no, that was someone else, but someone else has said that work was really busy and they didn't prioritise themselves. So my question here is, if you're not planning, why are you not planning? Why did it not happen? And try to see how doing that planning and putting that time in ahead will also help you when things are really busy, really stressful, and if you have got loads of other stuff going on. Okay. So, next one here, owning that I'm doing this program and that I'm trying to lose fat. Talking about it makes me feel like a failure. I think, and I don't want others to think this of me, but I worry they do. How am I in this situation of having put on fat and struggling to get it off despite going to the gym 5 or 6 times a week? This is such a great and honest question. I'm going to finish this coffee because it's annoying me now. Never mind you. There you go. Because this is about identity, right? So the first thing to say is, don't forget that whilst exercise can help maintain a healthy weight, it is not the thing that is solely responsible for you gaining or losing weight. And it's, as I've said before, it is a really inefficient way of trying to burn calories and lose fat. Your fat gain or fat loss comes down to the combination of all of the other habits that you are doing plus your calorie deficit. It's really important for you to remember that. Okay, so yes, you go to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. That does not mean you are an expert in fat loss, in exercise, in nutrition, in habits and behaviours. It is okay to ask for help. I'm not an expert in what you do. And if I was to be asked to do part of your job, I would need your help. Okay, so we can't be an expert at everything. Asking for help does not make you a failure. Now, the other part of this that I really want to talk about is the identity. So what this person is actually saying is, I have this identity, and I know that this person has this identity. I have this identity of being someone who works out 5 or 6 times a week. That is what people know me for. People see me in the gym, they know that I do this, they know I'm really active. So actually, having put on a couple of kilograms over the last year, that doesn't quite fit with my identity. And actually, I want you all to think about the identity that you have. And this is I could do a podcast on this, and I probably will, in its entirety, is about, building that identity and being the type of person, being known to be the type of person that you want to be known to be. Okay, so when I worked for a Big Four accountancy firm, I was known for being the person that wore really high shoes, because I'd be there in my suit dress or my suit with 6-inch platforms on. And when I left, all my leaving cards mentioned my shoes. Okay, and then when I went and worked somewhere else, I probably was known a bit for my shoes. What was I known more for? Particularly in the departments I worked in, I was known for being the person that went to the gym at 6 a.m, 3 to 5 mornings a week. I was known to be the person that was super fit and super healthy and often brought their own breakfast and lunch in and snacks and really took care of their health and, to a certain extent, you know, their weight and how they looked. So what this person is saying is, I've got this identity of being someone that trains, you know, up to 6 times a week, yet I've put on a bit of body fat over the last year. And this person's told me, you know, they've had a stressful, social, expensive year, and some habits have slipped. So I can understand why you feel a bit embarrassed that, you know, this identity has slipped a little bit. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. But I want you all to think about, what is the identity that you're trying to create? If you're trying to get into the habit of exercising regularly, think about that in terms of your identity. I want to be Chrissy, who is known to go to the gym 3 times a week. I want to be, I'm picking names now, I want to be Sophie, who is known to really prioritise her self-care. I am Emily and I want to be known to be really super strong. So think about the identity you're trying to create and the shift in your identity that needs to happen in order for you to get there. Because at the moment, your identity is XYZ. How do you want that to change? Okay. So I want you to think about this, and I want you, you know, I'm not going to start shouting your name from the top of the trees and say, oh, this person's working with me, everyone. But what I want you to think about is, you know, how it is not a failure in order to ask for help. Life changes. Circumstances are different. As we age, our behaviours and our habits change. As things happen, our behaviours and our habits change. And there is absolutely nothing wrong, and you should be proud of the fact that you're saying, I'm getting some help with making sure I am in the best possible shape of my life, and I'm proud of that, because not everyone can do everything on their own. It's a fact of life. And I also think that so often we think people think a certain way of us. They're too busy thinking about themselves rather than us. And that is so true. Okay, another question then that is also a little bit linked to identity, and I thought this was really interesting. It's not really a question, it's a statement, but I've picked it up. I think I was a bit embarrassed to get up and do a workout whilst away with friends, so I made the excuse that I couldn't do it. Looking back, I could have easily done my daily squats, lunges and push-ups in my room, so I'm disappointed that I didn't stick to this. I'm also frustrated that now I can't tick off all the bingo squares. So the bingo squares as part of the at-home August challenge that we're doing. So I think this is a really interesting point, and my first question is, why are you embarrassed? Is it the judgment of your friends? Is it that you worry what you think you'd look like, what they would think you would look like? I used to get this, I used to be the same, okay? But let me tell you, I went on a hen do in May, and on the Saturday, me and Lisa, who many of you know, one of my clients and friends from this group, we did a workout on the Saturday morning. Now, any of the comments that we got were those of admiration. Wow, you two are amazing. Well done. You're so good for doing this before we've started our day. We got no negative comments. And even if someone did think negatively about it, let's break that down about what that really means, okay? I think negatively of you for taking a step towards better health for yourself. That's what that really means. Now, if any of your friends think negatively of you, I nearly said your name then, for doing this, then, you know, it's not for me to say, but I would really question, oh, is that friendship? Okay, because if anyone does think negatively of you for taking a step towards your health and a better you, then that sounds like a them problem to me and not a you problem. Okay, so I'd really journal on this and unpick what comes up, because I actually think that showing your friends that you take your health seriously is hugely empowering. Okay, next question. I'm currently getting prepared for the Chiltern Three Peaks Challenge. Any tips on the best snacks for refueling during the hike? I just take lots of things that are portable and won't get squashed and squishy. Fruit, but make it like hard fruit, like apples and stuff like that. Protein bars or cereal bars. Stay hydrated. Things like mini baby bells are really good. I wouldn't worry too much about the food on there, and I would also really eat because you need it rather than eat because it's there. I remember when we did Snowdon, honestly, we had the most basic packed lunch, and when we sat down after summiting and ate that packed lunch, that was the nicest. It was so basic, so simple, but it was the nicest packed lunch I've ever had because we'd worked so hard. So yeah, just things that aren't too heavy, aren't too cumbersome. We made sandwiches and put them in Tupperware boxes so that they didn't get squashed. But then there were 4 of us and we could share those Tupperwares out between all of our rucksacks. Okay, great question here. Ultra processed foods. I've started reading a book about it. Also online, some trainers are saying to avoid ultra processed foods. However, it appears to be in everything, and often low calorie foods are worse. Any views on this? It's a total minefield. I completely agree with you. It is a minefield. Right, slurp. Again, this is another topic that I probably should do a whole podcast on. But let's just be really clear. Avoiding processed foods, I'm just going to say processed foods for now, is really difficult because your milk is processed. You know, even vegan and vegetarian options are processed. Like everything you get is processed. Even an egg is processed to get the stamp on it, right? So it's really difficult to find unprocessed food. It's also quite time consuming. So I think I answered this the other day when someone asked about beans and lentils and things and how to go more whole food with stuff like that. You know, a tin of chickpeas is processed. You can buy dried chickpeas, but then before you can eat them, you have to soak them for 24 hours and then you have to boil them, and then, you know, that becomes a whole time consuming thing. So I think some level of acceptance really needs to be had here on most food is going to be processed in some way, shape or form. If you choose to go down the absolutely no processed food route, that is a big commitment. That is a big time commitment that you need to accept is going to take your time. That's the first thing. There's a difference between, you know, super ultra processed food, which comes down to things like your chocolate, you know, your, I don't know, bags of sweets, bags of crisps. Some takeaway foods are ultra processed. Yes, they're not the best for you. When you say about some low calorie foods are worse, so let's think protein powder is processed. It is the whey of the milk. It is dried, it is powdered, flavours are added to it, and then it is packaged and sold as protein powder. Protein yogurts, they are processed. They take the milk product, they add in more whey, they add in flavourings. It's processed. I think you can get really hung up on the semantics of this, and you could say, right, that's it, I'm not going to eat any processed food, and then you will spend a lot of time in the kitchen making food from scratch and focusing on whole foods, and there's a lot of that. There are some things, for example, in this house, we spend a bit more on buying better quality meat because we can taste the difference. Do I then, other things, like Charlie says he can taste the difference between Milkman milk and plastic bottle milk. So we get Milkman milk. It's a bit more expensive. Is it any less processed? Probably not. If I buy plastic bottle milk, I buy organic milk because he seems to prefer the taste of that. So my view is, I think it's really hard in this day and age to live without some processed foods. There are obviously really horrifically processed foods, and I would try and avoid those as often as you can. Am I worried if you're using some protein powder daily, a protein pudding or a protein mousse or a protein bar? No. My advice is more middle of the road. I think where possible, I'd rather you focus on, getting your protein, fruit and veg in than focus on, well, how processed is this and how processed is that. This is one of those things that a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon with, making a big deal of it. And I think in this day and age, it is really hard not to live without some kind of processing. So I wouldn't go too far with worrying about it, but obviously that is your choice. And that's, I eat something that is processed every day, whether it's a protein yogurt or some protein powder. I'm not really that into protein bars. But also my meat is processed, my milk is processed, things like that. So yeah, I eat probably one, would you call it ultra processed food item a day, and I'm okay with that. Okay, right, on to the next one. Okay, eating breakfast. I'm not enjoying yogurt and granola at the moment and trying to find an alternative. Also, I'm eating it later and then skip it because it's so close to lunchtime. So here's a couple of things I just want to mention about this. So firstly, use the WhatsApp group for support. Ask for some suggestions for other breakfast. I've already talked about how skipping breakfast can be then hard to hit your protein and easier to overeat in the afternoon than the evening. I know you're off for the summer holidays. My recommendation would be that you get yourself into a morning routine. So we're halfway through the holidays. Get yourself into a morning routine so that you are eating some breakfast. It's, quite a breakfast was something we changed with you, and it really did you good. So even if you make your breakfast slightly smaller, can we get into a morning routine where we have breakfast at this time? You're putting it off because you're not enjoying it. Find something different to have. Get into a morning routine where you have it at a set time, even if it's a bit smaller, so you're then not skipping it, struggling to hit your protein target, and then there's the potential for overeating in the afternoon or evening. Okay, so I found out this week I have osteoarthritis in my neck. I'm finding it hard to come to terms with it. It doesn't help, it's probably age related. On the plus side, I don't have any pain, and there are exercises I can do to preserve mobility. The high protein diet must help. Connected to this, are there any exercises I should be avoiding with the osteoarthritis? So firstly, I'm really sorry to hear that. Secondly, do check with your specialist, but keep in mind to be careful of anything that puts pressure on your neck. So for example, glute bridges, if you're really leaning on your neck, that could be a problem. So you could do prone extensions, which is where you're lying on the floor face down and you lift up your chest and you lift up your legs, right? So that's going to really help. The other alternative also is, and I think we've got a workout coming up where I show this, is using something like your sofa to lean your shoulder and your neck on, and then they actually then don't become glute bridges, they become hip thrusts, but it's working the same muscles. Things like shoulder presses, if you're finding they're putting pressure on your neck, you can do things like front raises, but my first recommendation would be to speak to your specialist about this and a physio, because they will give you much more specific advice that is out of my remit. I stopped calorie counting. I used it as carte blanche to overeat on cakes and biscuits and chocolate, etc. But I'm realising I'm not being kind to myself by doing that. Counting calories provides me with a framework to keep my eating healthy. I'm back on track from Monday. So I always say this. Firstly, I love the honesty. I love the reflection. I love the realization in this. But you do not need to count calories to be healthy or to lose weight. But for some people, myself included, it really keeps you on track. It keeps you making your choices goal aligned, whether you are looking to lose fat, whether you're looking to stay the same, whatever. Calorie counting is just a tool, and for some people it really works. So you've realised that, and that's okay. I've been putting other things like cleaning, shopping, etc. ahead of my own needs. I've also been in a bad mood, so I've been missing lunch and not making smart food choices. So my question for this person is, how has this served you? You know it doesn't help you long term, but that doesn't mean it's easy to just stop prioritising everyone else and make, poorer decisions. You mentioned earlier in your form that you've not been journaling in the morning. So I would go back to the journaling. I'd unpick the bad mood. Even if you're out of the mood, think about what put you in a bad mood, and then consider how your habits, your healthy habits, help with that bad mood and help you to show up for yourself and for the rest of your family. So going back to the journaling is really important. And like I say, consider how this has served you. Think about all the progress that you've made undertaking these habits and how much support and advice you have given other people on the same thing, and show up for yourself, because you know how much you feel better by doing that. Okay, what else have we got? Right, I really find it challenging. I'm realising I find it challenging to stand up for myself. So this is also a bit of a win. 5 of us in the family are trying to get a date in the diary to organise a holiday next year. Everyone else says they can't do this or they can't do that day due to various sporting hobbies on set days. Next Wednesday, they all suggest. I very nearly reply, oh, okay then. I'll miss going on the walk with the last Diet Club local girls. Then it hits me like a ton of bricks. Why should my needs and fitness goals play second fiddle to everyone else's? I want to go and I'm looking forward to it. So I reply that I can't do that evening, and we end up with a Friday compromise. Yay! Feeling stronger mentally and putting movement in the diary. Love that win. So important. Because we do so readily just drop our boundaries for other people, and I know that's really hard. I know it's really hard to not do it, but it feels so good when we stand up for ourselves and we stand up for our own boundaries, and actually that gives you self-confidence, that improves your self-worth, because you are saying, no, I deserve to say yes to me. So well done. Let's have a look. I feel very strongly that following the last Diet Club local guidance and doing boot camp and workouts is working for me. I've lost over 30 pounds, so, can't say otherwise. I had a nasty comment from a family member this week who said, oh well, you still have a lot to lose. This person was also trying to impart bad diet advice such as go to bed hungry. How do you deal with negativity and bad advice without wanting to poke someone in the eyes? Okay, such a good question. I'd poke them in the eyes, joke. Here I think kill them with kindness. Smile and say thank you. I'm really happy with my journey and my progress and the method I'm following. Thanks so much for your concern. That might have worked for you. It won't work for me. I'm happy with it this way. The other thing you could do is just tell them straight up that it's not helpful. What they're saying is not helpful and quite hurtful. I'm wondering, how close this person is. I'm wondering whether they have failed in dieting in the past. So, I think kill them with kindness, nod and smile, nod and smile. Let's carry on. Okay, so this person hasn't given a huge amount of detail behind this challenge, but they've said saying it's just this time is their excuse. So I'm imagining, as I say, you've not given me a huge amount of detail, but I'm imagining that what's gone on here is you've said, oh, well, I'll have this treat or that treat. It's just this time. It's just this time. I'll do it tomorrow. And that's, that's what I'm reading out of this. Your progress is about consistency. Getting to your goal is about consistency with your habits, your behaviours, your actions. And, on the odd occasion, it's absolutely fine for it to just be this time. But what I would really like everyone to hear is there are times when saying yes to something is actually saying no to your goals. So saying yes to that third glass of wine is saying no to your goals. Saying yes to that sixth slice of pizza is saying no to your goals. Saying yes to the second ice cream of the day is saying no to your goals. Saying yes to missing, boot camp or your last Diet Club local workout is saying no to your goals. So let's just think about that. How many times are you saying yes when actually what that really means, if you reframe it, if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to my goals. I'm saying no to what I'm working towards. What else have we got here? I think that's everything. I'm really struggling with prioritising myself first. This is something that so many of you struggle with because you've got so many other responsibilities. You've got other people that need you, that want you, that demand your time. This is why planning is so important. This is why carving out time for yourself is so important. But I want you to think of the bigger picture here, right? How is not prioritising you serving you right now? How is that working for you? Because if you can turn around and say, yeah, it's working great, Chrissy, I love it, brilliant, brilliant. If you're saying it's not working for me, then something has to change. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So I want you, if you are really struggling to prioritise yourself amongst all of the other priorities you have in life, I want you to prioritise, make a plan to prioritise yourself at least once this week. Make a decision and think about how is constantly saying no to myself because I'm saying yes to other people. How is that serving me? How is that helping me to move forward? It's not. It's keeping you stuck. Okay, and you're here because you're stuck. So make a plan to prioritise yourself at least once this week. Show up for yourself and see the bigger picture of how doing these things for you is going to help you and everyone else that needs you in the long run. Right, that was mammoth, over 50 minutes, but I kept it under an hour. I hope this has helped. Any questions, reach out. If you would like to know how you can join the Mum Boss at Home community, check the link in the show notes. This has been awesome. I'll see you next week where I'll be recording the podcast from France. Have an awesome day.